Bring glory home in EA Sports College Football 25. Experience the decibel-shaking soundscape of college football, putting you inside the stadium alongside iconic rituals and traditions. Test your strategic decision-making with an all-new composure system, player wear and tear, and screen-shaking home field advantages. Learn more about the MVP Bundle, which also includes EA Sports Madden NFL 25 and can't miss rewards at EA.com/college bundle.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
As I tell young coaches that's coming in, listen, if you want to be good at this, then you're going to have to keep growing. You can't stay stagnant. You have to get better. You have to come up with solutions. You're going to need help, right? You have to be able to communicate. All these things, if you can do that, because, hey, if you're not getting better, you get worse.
In this episode of our Champion Series presented by Signature Championship Rings, we speak with DaLawn Parrish, the head coach at Westlake High School. In 2023, he won his 6th state championship at Wise High School and now moves on to a new job. Coach Parrish shares his team building and leadership strategies for team camps and talks about how he builds trust and chemistry and discipline within the team. We discuss the importance of communication and on adapting teaching methods for today's players. You'll enjoy this one with Coach, and we'll have our winning edge takeaways following the episode.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Amazon has curated selections of college essentials, from dorm room hacks to internet-famous finds. And with Amazon's unbeatable deals and everyday low prices, there's no need for a second student loan. Plus, with Amazon's fast and reliable delivery, it's all there when it needs to be. Make the most of college for less with Amazon. Shop now at amazon.com/off to college.
Joining me today on this episode of our in-season series focused on camp is DaLawn Parrish. He's been on the podcast before, recently won his 6th state title at Wise High School in Maryland. He's moved on to become the head coach at Westlake High School in Maryland. And we're going to talk to him today about some of the things that he does in camp to help move his team forward. And Coach, great to have you back here again. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, wow. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time just to talk football and piggyback some ideas off of people and learn some things. You know, I enjoy listening to your show, and I'm just fortunate that I'm on here again.
Well, it's a good thing because it means being on our Champion Series means you've won a state championship, and I've always been impressed with what you guys are doing. It's great to catch up with you. I know it's been a while. You've also been a very busy guy. You and I have talked over the years, but we just never could connect. So taking some time here in the summer before things really get going. And we want to get into the idea of what some of the things you do in team camp and camp to move your guys along and really bring your team together. So love to hear overall some of the things that you do, Coach.
Oh, first and foremost, you're talking about team building. How do you go about that? Being around the young men with your coaches, or have new coaches, you're breaking those gentlemen in. You get to know each other. You get to know how people discipline, how you specialize, how do you create leaders. The young men get to be around you. You know, it's not like going home anymore. They're right there. And they get to experience that. They get to experience scheduling. And you're building leaders and camaraderie. And I think sometimes we take that for granted when we're talking about X's and O's. But in the end, those young men have to be out there and they have to bond, have to trust each other. Your quarterbacks, you like to bring those young men and have private meetings with them one-on-one in terms of let them see how we're thinking. Then we ask them, What are they thinking about different plays or what have you? And we try to make sure we're moving on the same page. There's no guessing with that. There's nothing better than when you have a 3-by-1 concept drawn up. When you see the coverage and you already know the quarterback knows the head coach, the way he's thinking, where we're trying to get the ball. We've been in those situations, some of us, where the quarterback really don't know. I was watching this podcast, and I think they asked, it was a question about Tim Tebow. What made Tim Tebow good? And I think Tim Tebow was like, hey, I knew what the coach wanted. And that's exactly, to me, what you can do and what I try to do in team camp. You've been in it, like I said, we was talking about the 3-by-1 situation. You have a quarterback go back to that single side. I call it going rogue, especially when the play is not diagrammed to go back there in this particular situation. Well, team camp helps for that quarterback to know why you're thinking the way you are. It's not just the play to them. The other players understand it and getting everybody on the same page where they're going to dig into the play and they're going to dig into life and how we go about doing different things. We're going to do it together. You know, we walk to practice together. We go eat together. It's just the ultimate team bonding. And you're also working with your schedule because everything we do is not always perfect. In the team camp, you can scratch that, so to speak, right? You can go through a schedule, go back and look through it and say, look, I'm going to edit this when we get back home and get into actual camp. So there's so many elements involved with team camp that's beneficial. And yeah, I could go on and on about that.
Yes. One of the things you mentioned to me is you put together a leadership council. Coming into a new school, obviously, you don't know the guys as well. You haven't spent that time with them. What's the process for you of getting those guys together, and what are the expectations for them?
Well, first, I always meet with my coaches, and I ask them pretty much to select a young man that dictates some leadership quality or possess some leadership quality. And if they don't in their group, and I'm talking whether O-line, D-line, because we break them down, O-line, D-line, linebackers, running backs, quarterbacks, defensive backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, and then we'll pick one from each particular group, and that will become the leadership committee or the leadership council for us. And it doesn't matter their year, from being around your group. And that's part of the thing before we even get there, and I'm always stressing with my coach, learn the players. You know, have the players, you have your little group chat. You get to learn them. So if we don't have a young man in your group that possesses leadership qualities, then you tell me a young man that should be a leader, all right, that we're going to try to mold. Those young men will become our leadership council. I meet with them. I tell them my expectations, and I ask them, what are their expectations? What do they expect from their teammates? Right? Here's some things. I let them start first. And then I'll share my responsibilities and what I expect. And sometimes they can see, ooh, it meets. Or sometimes what I deem is important is not important to them. I tell them now, tell me why yours is more important than mine. Well, I'll tell you why I think this is important. How does it relate? And sometimes you learn, been doing this now 20 plus years. I'm not naive to know that things change. And some of the stimulants, responses, and some of the negative elements that these young men deal with today is something that I never thought of, right? That we older, that we didn't view as a problem. Sometimes I piggyback off my father, who's still, you know, in my life. He's our cameraman or what have you. But, you know, he always asked me, what's the policy? And I sometimes say, well, how you have a policy for something that never happened before? Right. And when you're older, you just don't know some of these things that stimulate, motivate, or distractions from the youth today. So by allowing them to come up with their responsibilities and what they deem is what they're looking for, what's a positive, what's negative, and then sharing it with me and I share it with them, we can come up with something that we're going to stress to this year's group and how we're going to go about attacking, eliminate some problems and come up with solutions. And then I give them what I call the chain of command, right? The young men should feel comfortable that they can come to them with situations. If they cannot solve the situation, right, then they go to position coach. If position coach can't solve the situation, they come to me. All right. Now, of course, I'm always going to know what's going on. I tell them, listen, just let me know what the situation is. So just in case something ever come up, I can be aware of it. But I'm going to let you all try to solve that problem first. And then we'll work the way up to the chain of command.
That's the sound of a tree in Tennessee's Great Smoky Mountains, releasing volatile organic compounds, which is just a fancy way of saying it's creating fog. And that makes the Smokies smoky. This is one of many sounds in Tennessee with a story to tell. To hear them in person, plan your trip at tnvacation.com. Tennessee sounds perfect.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, Coach, in saying what's the policy, because you look at how fast our world moves, things change, things that we never had to think about before. I mean, there's so much in existence now that wasn't even a thought back when we played the game, and things are moving, I mean, really, really fast. So it's not that you can think all these things out, because there's going to be a lot now that's never happened before. But I think that approach you take is a fair and reasonable approach that you guys can figure out together. And I'm sure your players respect that there's a process for it. Even though there might not be the policy, they understand there's a process for figuring something out.
Well, I like to tell people, listen, we're on the front lines, coaches, educators, wherever you want. We're on the front line of some problems that we deal with in our country, in our community, so to speak. I've always thought football through life, teaching life through football, what have you. One of the things is, like I said, the chain of command. I think all the coaches can say how we dealt with some parents or players that they skip over you and go straight to the board of education. You're like, I didn't even know it was a problem. Well, we have to teach them how to complain, right? Work their way up. See if the process can solve it before you go all the way to the top. And I think we see that so much in our lifetime. And also, we're dealing in a time where people don't even know how to complain. I always laugh when parents come to me about, why is this the way it is in this policy? I say, that policy don't have nothing to do with me. You're complaining to the wrong person. But I think as we use football, especially with me, I use the leadership council, and I'm teaching my team how to complain or how to fix, teaching the rules and how to work your way up the chain of command and not just skip over things and offend people or make things very hard for yourself. So that are in relationships, just how to get it done. So I'm definitely proud of that. And I think we're responsible as coaches to do just that.
Yeah, it really goes to how much of this goes well beyond the game. I mean, everything you're talking about there, we mentioned is changing in sports. I mean, our world changes constantly, that we have to have ways to deal with people. And you're helping set your guys up for the future. We can't have situation which we see many times in this world, and it plays out on TV, on the news programs, on the social media, all those things where everybody wants to be at odds with each other. Everybody wants to take the opposite opinion. And instead of coming together and figuring it out, putting up their walls and really not getting anywhere in the world. We have to teach our players to be better than that and how they can help be leaders beyond football.
Absolutely. I take pride in that. I was fortunate to have coaches that I played for that was very big on structure and, I like to say, fair play, commitment, and just bringing life situations into the game that I felt that it was invaluable back then. And I'm trying my best to give these young men the same opportunities and to teach them the same things that I was taught. And like we said, it's moving fast. So some of the things I was learned or taught is outdated now, right? And we have to keep growing. And as I tell young coaches that's coming in, listen, if you want to be good at this, then you're going to have to keep growing. You can't stay stagnant. You have to get better. You have to come up with solutions. You're going to need help, right? You have to be able to communicate. All these things, if you can do that, because, hey, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So if you keep that thought in mind, you're constantly learning, you're constantly educating, and you're constantly getting better, which does makes your unit better and makes everyone better.
As you look at how this carries forward through the season, obviously camp's a little bit of a different animal. I mean, we have all of our installs, we're getting ready. There's not necessarily the test at the end of the week. And then we get into the rhythm of the season where every day has its certain purpose and routine. How do you work in all these things with leadership and the lessons that you're teaching to make sure that this continues on through the season?
Well, you address the importance of trying to figure out your teammates, learn somebody new, right? I think in all of us, even in our workforce, sometimes we stay in our own cliques, right? We stay with what's familiar to us. You stress to the kids, listen, You have to learn each and every teammate. You have to learn what's going on. And you have to become that pulse of the team. Because if you have a problem, well, you're making it better. And you have to continue to grow. Things are going to change when we leave camp. Right? They get back in the building or what have you. We go home. We're dealing with classes. We're dealing with family life. You're dealing with other stimulus that could affect how you play emotionally, thus affecting you mentally, right? And once we have that problem, it's hard to think. So let's continue to learn each other, know what's going on. And you'd be surprised just from doing that, you learn what's going on in some of them houses and what's affecting them and what's causing problems inside school, which also cause problems on the field. So you have to stay involved. We have weekly meetings. I sit down with them before the game and talk to them about, okay, let's see what's going on. All right, anything new, anything I need to know about, right? Everything is the ship moving positive, right? Okay, what do y'all think is a situation that could be coming up, all right, that I need to be involved with or y'all can handle, right? Let's just see what's up. Oh, we tied in. But that's my responsibility, right? That's the coach's responsibility to make sure we're still moving in the right direction and that we're being positive.
Yeah, obviously remains a process throughout the season, and we do have to stay on top of it. It's not always the easiest thing to set aside our routine, to set aside our game plan, watching film, but, I think you're a testament to why we coach this game. You've done an excellent job. As I said, you continue to win, and more than important than anything, you're developing some great young men. So I appreciate you taking the time, Coach, sharing some of these ideas with us here on the podcast, and best of luck to you and the Pumas here in 2024.
Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to come on. Obviously, going to a new school, I'm going to take everything that I helped build at my old school and get it here at Westlake High School. And the young men are definitely prepared, and they're looking forward to team camp, which is upcoming the next month.
Here's my winning edge takeaway from this conversation with Coach DaLawn Parrish. I think the biggest thing here is the continuous learning and adaptability. We want to have some things planned for our players. We want to have some parameters on what our standards are and how things should be handled, but we live in a very dynamic world where things are constantly changing, and Coach Parrish makes a commitment to just working with his players, understanding that sometimes they won't have the answers. They're going to have to sit down and come up with those, but they can count on him and they can trust him to be fair and reasonable with those solutions. So something to learn there from Coach. I thought that was a really good one. And we'll continue on with our Champions episodes this season. Be sure to visit coachandcoordinator.com and check out the 10% Toolkit, which highlights our partners and some of the offers they have to you as a listener. The link to that is in the show notes. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com and follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.